What's going on, my dudes? Certified Wendigoon clone here, DrMemeologist, and starting off this video, I want to take a moment of silence for the death of video gaming. Nah, I'm just kidding. As of late, we've heard a lot of people within the gaming community, and a lot of very vocal people at that, talk about how gaming is dead or on the path of dying. But I mean, looking back 15 years ago, we had absolute giants of the industry like Activision, Bungie, and EA making bangers all the time. And I mean, surely they couldn't have died off that hard in the modern age, right? Right? Oh, good lord, Bungie, where do I even begin? Well, maybe let's start with Marathon, their recent tragedy. Marathon, for those who don't know, and believe me, I don't blame you if you don't know, is a new looter shooter that Bungie is basically making as of right now, and they got into some pretty deep water really fast with this game. To summarize the controversy, basically, Bungie stole art from an artist on Twitter, didn't pay them, didn't credit them, and used it in Marathon, which, by the way, already looks so fucking bland. Like, I cannot stress enough, the minute I saw the trailers for this game, one, it was just straight up Destiny gameplay, two, it just looks so flat and so corporate. I know the style is corporate brutalism or whatever it's called, but good lord, in this context for a game, I mean, it just doesn't look good. But back to the controversy itself, yeah, Bungie, a multi-million-dollar company, stole art from a Twitter artist. Great job, guys. And if I had a nickel for every lawsuit that Bungie was in that involved stealing content from other people, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Destiny, which has pretty much become the biggest IP for Bungie as of late, is also in a lawsuit, funny enough. So Bungie is also being sued for their Red War campaign in Destiny 2, and the guy who came out and said this basically said that they stole pretty much the entire story from him, and usually this could be a pretty quick and easy case to figure out, just find all the, stuff that you were coming up with as you were making the Red War campaign. But the problem is Destiny and Bungie completely vaulted all the Red War campaign stuff and are trying to rely on YouTube videos, but the judge said, no, you're not going to be allowed to do that. So they actually have no way of disproving this guy right now. Like, could you imagine Bungie trying to pull up YouTube videos to prove their innocence and a judge in a court just says, no, lol? So now at this point, Bungie's trying to scramble to find any way to prove they own all of the ideas and the story of the Red War campaign. But here's a simple idea for, Bungie and Destiny. Maybe don't delete content people already paid for. I don't know, maybe you shouldn't get rid of content that people paid actual money for. I don't know, just an idea. Oh, Activision and Blizzard, how you have fallen from grace completely. Let me ask you a question. Do you like AI slop? Nope. Me neither. Crazy, right? Call of Duty and Activision has gotten into some big heat as of late for using generative AI for their art in Black Ops 6, but honestly, you could probably tell me that Black Ops 6 was made entirely with AI, and I would believe you. I've honestly talked enough about how god-awful the current state of Call of Duty is, but I think this controversy in particular highlights a greater lack of respect and appreciation for art and the creative work behind it. COD at this point is more interested in pumping out slop rather than actually investing in something that is creative and appealing for audiences. And over to the Blizzard side of things, we've seen a number of issues in the past relating to Blizzard, but on top of that, they got lazy with Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 was in such a stagnant state for a long time with nothing really changing and just Kiriko skin after Kiriko skin, bad collab after bad collab, months between content releases, and the only reason they actually started making changes was because Marvel Rivals started dunking on them in their own home court. It's actually kind of crazy that of all the first-person shooter games out right now, the only one that actually has a chance to be good is Battlefield. But then again, there is EA. I hate EA so much. As someone who's a really big football fan, Madden might be the worst gaming experience I think I've ever had to deal with in my entire life because year after year it is just a rehash of the same shit since 2015. Imagine that, playing pretty much the exact same game for over 10 plus years. Oh wait, that's Overwatch. I will say, I think the only saving grace for EA is the college football games coming back, but on a side note, fuck you EA for not putting them on PC. I know there's a whole thing with hackers and modders and all that shit, but dude, for the love of God, just make a PC port. Stop being so fucking lazy. I really don't want to have to buy a PS5 just to play college football. I deadass might though. I deadass might.
I will pay you to kill yourself.
Also, a side note, because this is something that popped up recently, the CEO of Gearbox, you know, the company that makes Borderlands, recently talked about the rise in the price of games, and he said, yeah, if you're a true fan of Borderlands, you're gonna pay the $80 and you're gonna like it. Fuck you. You know what the nice part is? I can just go back and play Borderlands 2, which is most likely gonna be the better game when all is said and done. But while these major companies have pretty much fallen apart at the seams, it's opened up a lot of opportunities for new companies and new games to step in and make a big impression on the community, and a lot of them have done just that.
By the Eye of Agamotto!
Marvel Rivals is a great example of this because this game has allowed for NetEase to step onto the scene and just explode in popularity the same way I explode when I see Emma Frost. This in turn has created real competition within the hero shooter genre in ways that Concord wish it could have, and as a result, it's now the #1 hero shooter and everyone's still fucking loving it. Also, side note, NetEase, why did you nerf Psylocke but you buffed Squirrel Girl? That's all. That's all I want to know. I will say Marvel Rivals is such a refreshing take on the hero shooter genre that focuses more on fun over competitive play because, dude, like Apex Legends, any game that focuses on competitive play first and foremost is going to lose the casual fan base almost immediately. But speaking of fan bases, there is one complaint I do have with this game, and that is this fucking fan base and this community is just so damn toxic, man. I might make a video about this, I'm debating on that right now, but man, I swear the people who came from Overwatch over to this game really just need to shut the fuck up. Because we had that whole thing where it was like the whole, you know, healer strike or whatever, and it just, dude, it's like, why are we caring this much? Why? Get a job, for the love of God.
Frag out!
But while we're still on the topic of NetEase, I actually kind of want to transition over to another game they released recently called Fragpunk. This is a game that kind of flew under the radar, but is a solid alternative for those who like Call of Duty. I played the beta when it first came out, and it was honestly a lot of fun. And it's something I haven't played the full release of yet, but believe me, I'll get around to it eventually because this game's mechanics with the whole shard card stuff, it makes every round feel unique, and it's just such a blast to play. A shout out to NetEase going 2 for 2 in the hero shooter genre. Not bad, not bad. But speaking of shooters, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this legendary game, Helldivers 2. Arrowhead Studios created a god-tier PvE shooter in Helldivers 2, and recent updates have caused a massive resurgence in the community with the attack on Super-Earth, and it is just so cool to see this again, because man, I absolutely love the fact that everyone's getting back into this game and they're fighting for democracy. Again, Helldivers 2 has probably one of the best communities out there. But going back to Arrowhead Studios, this is a company that is passionate about gaming and put their heart and soul into making Helldivers 2 the best and most fun it can be. And then Sony kind of fucked it up, but you know, that's besides the point. Yes. The last thing I want to talk about in the AAA genre is Expedition 33, and I purposely saved this one for last because oh my goodness, this is an absolute masterclass in single player games and is arguably Game of the Year material. Now keep in mind, at the time of recording this, I haven't finished the game yet, but man, since I started playing this, I have been absolutely hooked. For those who don't know, Expedition 33 is just an amazing turn-based RPG game. When you combine the gameplay along with the visuals and the unique area and aesthetics, it just makes for such a unique experience. And on top of that, with combat, the new enemies that you'll constantly be facing create such a unique gameplay experience and loop where you basically have to learn all of their attacks, try to get the time for the dodges and everything like that. It has such amazing depth from a gameplay standpoint and from a story standpoint, and it is just once again one of the things that reminds me of how much I love gaming as a hobby. And again, like I mentioned with Helldivers 2 and Arrowhead, the company behind this game, Sandfall Interactive, only has roughly 30 people working for them, but these are all people who are extremely passionate about the medium of gaming, and they managed to make something that's way better than whatever Ubisoft could push out.
Meat and fuck kingdom, Steve.
Now speaking about passion for gaming, I think there's no better area that highlights this better than indie gaming. And believe me, while I understand for every one Undertale you get 100 sex with Hitlers, there are still plenty of amazing, well-made games in this medium that can honestly last you a lifetime. It's only recently that I began to appreciate indie games because let me tell you something, if you ever lose that passion for gaming, find a good indie game and it will reignite that spark within you. Made back in 2019, this is an amazing platforming game with Chrono Trigger style combat that I actually played way back in the day on the channel and on live streams, and I still think about this game often because of just how much fun it was to play. The platforming is fun, the combat is super interesting and dynamic, and it is one of the more unique gaming experiences I've had within the past 10 years. For those who love early 2000s racing games, this is something I would 100% recommend for you. To start off, this game from a visual standpoint looks absolutely amazing, and it has something I think a lot of modern racing games are missing, and that is the feeling of when you are driving these fast-ass cars that you can honestly lose control and spin out and crash at any given moment. That's something I think like older Need for Speed and Midnight Club games captured really well, was the minute you hit about 100 miles per hour in whatever car, yeah, that bitch is gonna start shaking and you're gonna start to feel like you are flying through the streets, because you pretty much are. On top of that, the soundtrack for this game is absolutely amazing. The house music that it plays, oh my god. It does something for my soul. In fact, I actually save the playlist because whenever I'm driving late at nights, I will play that playlist immediately, and it is just such a vibe, dude. I wanted to keep the indie game section of this video short, mostly due to the fact that pretty much every game I'm excited for within the indie genre is only in like a beta or an alpha right now, and honestly, they could deserve their own video in the future, so I don't really want to spoil it, but I do want to end this section off with Schedule 1.
I liked it. I was good at it.
This game, made by one guy, absolutely blew up overnight and has provided more content for people than most AAA games nowadays. I played it only a handful of times, but dude, it is so much fun, and the only reason why I don't play it is because whenever I'm playing it on stream, I am just so locked in and so dead focused that I don't interact with chat, and it's like, I can't do that, you know? But all in all, this game is just so much fun, and for the price point especially, you get more value for your dollar out of this game than you do most games that are trying to charge $70 or $80. I don't think that gaming is dead at all. But if someone were to play Madden and Call of Duty all day, then yeah, I could see why you would think that. Gaming is still a medium that can provide unique and immersive experiences unlike any other. Games like Elden Ring, games like Baldur's Gate are AAA games that can still provide countless enjoyment and amazing experiences to this day because these games were made with passion for the medium itself of gaming. Hell, one of the most iconic moments in my opinion from the gaming awards these past few years has been when Baldur's Gate 3's director came out and basically roasted the whole gaming industry.
The Oracle told me that the game of the year 2025 was going to be made by a studio who found the formula to make it up here on stage. It's stupidly simple, but somehow it keeps on getting lost. Studio made their game because they wanted to make a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand. They didn't have to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off if they didn't meet those targets. And furthermore, the people in charge forbade them from cramming the game with anything whose only purpose was to increase revenue and didn't serve the game design. They didn't treat their developers like numbers on a spreadsheet. They didn't treat their players as users to exploit. And they didn't make decisions they knew were short-sighted and function of a bonus or politics. They knew that if you put the game and the team first, the revenue will follow.
To put it simply, stop paying for slop, alright? Most of these games that these companies are making are not worth the $60 price tag, and if you don't believe they are, don't pay for it. Instead, use that money on anything else, any game that actually is passionate and fun. For all my gamers out there, which is pretty much most of my audience, I imagine, I want you guys to seriously try something new and stop being so negative when something new comes out. I mentioned games like Marvel Rivals and Expedition 33 earlier, and those are examples of games that got a lot of criticism from the gaming community when they first came out. Marvel Rivals for being a clone, Expedition 33 for looking generic as hell, quote unquote. But these games are actually incredible once you give them a chance, but a lot of people just aren't willing to do that, which is just sad. And a lot of it comes from Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. I swear, the amount of nerds, like pure losers, I see on that site spouting dumb shit about a game that they haven't even played yet is just absurd to me. And all you out there should not be interacting with these dweebs. Let them try to make their fucking rage baity ass opinion, but try the game for yourself and come up with your own opinion on something. I made the Ubisoft joke earlier, but just look at a game like Assassin's Creed Shadows. People kept flaming it because it was woke, whatever that means in this day and age. And when it released, it turned out to be a pretty good game. Now, me personally, I'm not interested in it because I don't like some of the newer mechanics in Assassin's Creed game, and it just kind of feels like the same, Ubisoft format copy and pasted into Assassin's Creed game. But if you enjoyed the game all the same, then enjoy it. I don't care. While the new Assassin's Creed games don't hit like the older ones did for me, because believe me, I absolutely loved the older Assassin's Creed games, I can understand why people would like the newer one, and if you do, that's perfectly fine. It's just not for me. Now, I will say, we could very well be looking at a major crash in the gaming market, with the price of games constantly skyrocketing and a lot of people not being willing to pay $80 for a game. Let's be real, I've gotten more value out of free-to-play or indie games than I have anything that Activision or EA has pumped out in the last 5 years. Except for Modern Warfare 2019, that is still a top 5 COD of all time in my opinion. And while something like GTA 6 might be worth the $100 price tag, oh Jesus. Some other games that are being produced by these AAA studios aren't even worth the $60 price tag because they don't do anything new and they don't take any risks. And as a result, I don't get any fun or enjoyment out of them. And this seems to be the general consensus in the whole gaming community, as people who do this for a hobby like myself aren't going to be willing to drop the $70, $80, or hell even $100 price tag on a game. I think companies need to stop putting so much money into these projects and focus on making something that is simple, cost-effective, and tries something new and fun. Lately, I've been going back and playing a lot of PS2 games from my childhood, and one thing that's common across all these games is that they didn't overcomplicate things and they just made things fun. The scope of modern projects has gotten so big and it has so much invested into it that companies nowadays aren't going to be willing to take risks, because if they do, it's going to be a massive financial hit. And why take a risk when you could just play it safe, make the same thing every year, and get a return on investment essentially? And I think that's the mentality that's killed a lot of these AAA games, because older games used to have such smaller projects that didn't need insane graphics or anything like that, but the gameplay was good and the loop kept you invested and the worlds themselves were so much interesting. And I think that's the problem with modern AAA gaming, is that these projects are so massive and have so much money invested into them that as a result, they don't want to take any risks and try something new, otherwise they risk losing a bunch of money. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the people who work at these AAA gaming companies like EA, Activision, Bungie, anything else I've mentioned above, I think they are creative people and are passionate, but the higher ups at these companies just won't allow them to make anything other than what they want. And what they want is something that will get them their money back, something with a battle pass, something with microtransactions, something that basically forces you to pay extra money for the game you already paid for. Earlier in the video, I mentioned Marathon, and Marathon unfortunately got a lot of negative reception because of the alpha release and because of the controversies, and that in turn has led to a very big drop in morale for all the people who work at the studio. And again, it's not entirely their fault. They did the best that they could for the most part. A lot of these investors and CEOs can pretty much be pointed to as the reason why the AAA gaming space is seen as such a negative thing nowadays, because ultimately they care about profit margins, and as a result they'll make a shittier product for it, and we as consumers should not support that at all. What we should be celebrating as a gaming community are games that are passionately made, something that's fun, something that's innovative, something you can enjoy with your friends or even by yourself, but at the end of the day, we only have so much money to spend on gaming. We have to make sure that when we buy a game, it's worth every single penny. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I wanted to do kind of a rant video this time around because with all the gaming controversies that have popped up recently, I just felt the need to talk about it because, man, it is crazy to see how much the gaming space has changed since I was a kid. And if you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a like on it, subscribe for more videos just like this, and if you want to see more commentary videos, then let me know in the comments, and also let me know what you guys think about the AAA gaming space and the indie gaming space as well. If you guys want more DrMemeologist content, then go check out my second channel, DrMemeologist TV on YouTube, or you can check out my live streams at twitch.tv/DrMemeologist1. And with all that said, I appreciate you guys watching this video. I will see you all in the next stream, in the next video, whichever one happens first. Till then, later, dudes.